I'm good. I'm Elaine Steen.
Nice to meet you, Elaine. My name is Konstantin from Russian Academy of Medical Sciences. What is it about?
Well, what we have today is our first set of prototypes of health informatics building blocks, which are modules focused on basic informatics skills that are designed to be open educational resources so they can be used by anyone and modified to meet their local needs. Over time, we hope to build a repository of HiBBs that can be accessed by anyone in the world, contributed by anyone in the world.
That can be taken freely, downloaded, changed, modified?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Our initial focus is sub-Saharan Africa, but our intent is certainly to broaden that once we have our entire process in place in the repository up and running. Would you like to see a couple?
I'd be curious to see it, yes, please.
Okay. Well, we have several different topics and several different formats for our prototypes. The first is managing change.
That's very interesting.
All right, shall we start there?
Oh, yes, please.
Let's move that clipboard just a little. There we go. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. This is a very basic format. It's a set of PowerPoint slides that was created by Sherry Lynn Fuller at the University of Washington. Sherry Lynn has offered this course in Asia and in Africa. Okay. So we think it's of interest to people working in low-resource settings who are grappling with the implementation of health information communication technologies.
I understand. Where in Asia?
To tell you the truth, I'm not quite sure.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that. But one of the features of this is a basic PowerPoint slide that anyone could adapt and modify. But what Sherry Lynn's done, she's provided instructor notes and questions to help someone as an instructor reflect on it. Now, there are also references that would help someone who is thinking about using this module to teach a course. And the intent is that you would build your own examples and case studies that would be relevant for your setting. Based on where you are. Okay. So what's relevant in Washington State would be different than Africa. But it's our hope that over time we actually build a set of case studies that people could
that would be locally based.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's our managing change.
How big is the block?
This particular one is just 17 slides.
17 slides.
When she offers this particular program, I think she says it's at least an hour when you do an interactive session with students.
So that would be an hour of studies.
And this is less of of course it might be of interest to someone who wanted to learn about managing change, but it's more geared for an instructor to take it and adapt it and use it in a classroom setting. Doesn't prohibit self-learning, but that wasn't the primary intent.
So it's initially intended for medical staff?
Could be medical staff, executives, students who, more people.
More people who have experience in the field already.
Right, or maybe an organization that's about to bring in a new system or a different application, and we know they're not going to be too happy about it because it'll make their work more difficult. So it's to try to help the managers learn different strategies on what they can do to get their workers ready to at least be somewhat receptive to the change they're about to undergo. Our second module is on ethics and integrity. So this is for people who are responsible for managing clinical and research data. This module was created by recording training that was offered in Eldoret, Kenya last spring.
So it's already been used as part of the class.
Been used in Africa. It was offered to some OpenMRS developers, but in fact, OpenMRS isn't mentioned once in the module. So even though it was developed for a specific set of users, it's a very general module. And what we tried to do in this module is illustrate a different format. So this is slides with voiceover.
No. Here's the wrap.
And it actually is a good topic. And then what we've done for each of the modules is a brief description, and then there are different ways that we're going to index them. so that when they're in a repository, you can search it by different topics, as well as you can search for available formats. So this particular one, in addition to having the voiceover with PowerPoint, there's a version that's just MP3. And also there's just a PowerPoint version. And then there's a little mini one you can one you can download on a cell phone. So we're trying to take the same content and offer it in different ways.
How does it work with a cell phone?
Well, we just have a very basic module.
Oh, that's audio for the mobile.
Right,
okay.
right. So it's just something that you could just download it to your phone.
Oh, that's great.
So moving ahead.
That is such a good idea. I wonder if that could be implemented with some staff education in well-to-do countries.
This is a prototype that was developed for us by Bill Detmer of Unbound Medicine in Charlottesville, Virginia. And his company focuses on bringing reference material to clinicians at the point of care. But when he heard about HiBBs, he wanted to work with us. And so he, let's see, where'd it go? I'm not an iPhone user, I'm borrowing this phone. All right. So he took that managing change HiBB, put it in a structured it for an eye.
And you could take it with you.
Yes, you could. Also, we could, in the future, add voiceover to the managing change. So
and then it would play in
It would play on the iPod.
Oh God.
So lots of potential for lots of different environments, depending on now. We've been speaking to African colleagues, and they said this isn't realistic in the near term.
Yes.
Most of the people don't have this kind of phone capability.
Phones that would be able to.
But as you said, in areas with more resources and more people, might be a really attractive way for professional education.
Excellent.
So there's that. This is also captured in Eldoret, Kenya. It's just a slightly different variation. And you can see all the financial support that made it possible. In this instance, we actually captured a small video of the instructor.
Oh, wow.
Now, several of these modules also have supplemental materials. Either the handouts that were provided during the workshop.
Alongside with the slides.
And in one of them, there is a post-assessment. So if you wanted to either test yourself, or if you were an instructor using a material, you could offer that to your students and see if they've learned the material.
Well, thank you very much for showing that to me. Can you tell me where, can you repeat, you've mentioned a few locations where you've already offered these classes? In Mexico, I heard.
Well, actually, in Eldoret, Kenya, the two missing data and ethics. And then the managing change was authored in Nairobi.
In what settings?
For the Kenya, it's at the AMPATH Center where they're focusing on teaching OpenMRS at Moi University for people who are helping to develop and use that system. In Nairobi, it was a group of health informatics students. They wanted them to understand the managing change topic.
What was the feedback?
Well, when they didn't actually get the prototype, they got the original content. So these were based on that content. As far as I know, that was well received.
I could definitely say that most of the Russian doctors, especially from the rural areas, they could benefit from such easy to grapple with structured content, which you can take in any form you want. So because most people in Russia do have players, they might not have internet access, which is very fast, or they might not have iPhones, but they would have players.
Right, and
they would have computers somewhere.
Actually, we brought these to Africa with us on DVDs, and that's one of the dissemination approaches that we're definitely looking into. Not sure how the actual process will come together, but we're definitely looking into that because we understand, even though we will have an online repository, that's not always the easiest option for potential users.
What are the next stages and the next steps?
Well, we're going to take the feedback we've been receiving here, go back and refine our thinking a little bit. We'll be working, we have a first version of design guidelines. So if someone came to me tomorrow...
Design guidelines to expand on the course that you have in slides.
Or any of these. If someone said to me, I have a need to create a reusable learning module tomorrow, I'd say, well, here's what we've learned so far in our design guidelines,
Okay.
and we're happy to have conversations with you about
That's
that.
amazing. Yes.
And then what we've actually just heard in the short time we've been at MedInfo is that it would be very helpful to create template slides or just a template for what an MP3 module might look like, so that people who are designing content can just plug it in.
Oh,
And they
yes.
don't even they don't have to grapple with what it should look like. We're trying to make it as simple as possible for those
That's
folks.
fantastic. Do I presume right that the content in Mexico was given in Spanish and in Kenya in Swahili?
No. Actually, to the best of my knowledge, it was all offered in English.
Offered in English, okay. So
And that's
it was
going
based
to be
in English-speaking schools.
Yes, and that is going to be a
But I
big.
know, sorry for
ahead.
interrupting you. Hold your thought. I know that you have very positive experience from AMIA 10
Absolutely.
by 10 in Spanish countries.
Yes,
In
yes.
Brazil, in Argentina.
Yes,
Don't you? Okay.
and that was very well received. It does, as you know,
It's
take,
still ongoing.
as far as I know, it took investment of time by several folks who are willing to take the original course from English, translate it, and then of course adapt it to be relevant to the local setting. But we've heard very good things about
Very
it.
good feedback.
And in fact, that was one of the issues that we've heard a lot about, the challenges of language, even challenges of English accents. So,
Okay.
so if I
In
record
the
it,
voiceovers.
right,
Okay.
so that we're going to explore ways to provide the narrative,
Okay.
so that anyone could read that narrative reported in their local
In their own
English accent,
dialect,
or they
okay.
could translate it. And then, of course, we'll need to set up some checks and balances so that if things are translated, we can be sure that at least someone else with informatics expertise who speaks that language can confirm that the concepts were translated accurately. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us, but we're very excited about the possibilities here.
Okay, well, Elaine, thank you so much for showing it to me.
Constantine, thank you very much.
And I'll be talking to you later. Then. Can I